a bigger battery next year.
You get a bigger battery right now.
Ow. That hurt. You need to warn me.
And you get a bigger battery, and you get a bigger battery. Can you imagine if you went to Oprah and she's just putting giant lithium-ion batteries under your seat? And you have to carry it out. That's the thing. You get the battery only if you can carry it out of the studio.
By giant, do you mean like
car size?
Car size. She's just gone to the dump and repurposed all these.
No. Like they're donated by like Nissan or something. Nissan's like, we'll give you 220 leaf batteries.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. My name is Sami Haj Assad, and with me, as always, is my good friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. Say hi to the people, Ben.
Greetings, human listeners.
Greetings to everyone. If this is the first time you're listening to our podcast, thank you for trying something new. Ben and I are a pair of automotive journalists, but more important than that, we're very good friends. I suppose that's the case with like so many other podcasts out there, but I guess...
No. I think that a lot of podcasts function on frenemy energy.
Oh, we don't have that, you think?
No, I don't think so. This isn't a Mean Girls situation.
No, I guess you're right. Ben, why don't you tell some of our listeners where they can find your latest work?
Sure. You can find my work at Motor Trend, at Haggerty, and at driving.ca. And for those of you who like comic books or are maybe comic book curious, I have a new comic book coming to Kickstarter on October 7th. It's called Model UN. It's www.modelun.com. It'll take you to the preview page where you can sign up for the Kickstarter. And the book is about a group of mid-90s teens who are in a Model UN club at their high school. And one day aliens show up and mistake them for the actual United Nations, and they're forced to negotiate the fate of the Earth. It's intended to be a comedy. It's a fun book. It's in a manga style, which is brand new for me, and I'm pretty excited about it. So it's www.modeluncomic.com.
And maybe we've gotten you've been like doing all sorts of publicity and all sorts of other different podcasts.
I am, and doing a lot of other podcasts. I think I'm on like 15 or 16 over the course of the next 2 weeks. And the person who's booking me emails me every day with more. I just did one last night as we're recording this, and it will be published. It's Wayne's Comic Podcast, and it will be out Sunday morning at 11 a.m. That is Sunday the 6th, or the 7th, sorry. That's the same day as our podcast comes out, which comes out much earlier on a Sunday. So if there's a chance you're hearing this and you can get Wayne's podcast when it comes out, but obviously you can listen to it at a later date as well. It's funny because this is weird. This is the first time I'm writing a comic book where the artist I don't know personally. Like we met online and he lives in Argentina. And so all of our communication has been text-based. So this was the first time I was really talking to another human being about the book in terms of its plot and structure and why I made decisions in terms of story. And I was not very eloquent about it at first. And I realized that's because in the past, my collaborators have been friends who live nearby, and we talked about it on phone calls regularly. So I was used to speaking about it instead of just writing about it. So TLDR, my brain works in a weird way. And I discovered that on a podcast recording last night.
Well, I mean, I've seen and read significant parts of the first draft of Model UN. First of all, really beautifully illustrated and drawn, but really funny and witty, well written as well. So I think everyone should be checking that out ASAP.
You're very kind.
I don't have anything more interesting than that going on, but if you do want to read my work, you can find it over at driving.ca or autotrader.ca.
Sami, you're raising a child. I think that's pretty interesting.
But I don't invite people to come and watch me do that, okay? Because there's highs and lows.
You're not Truman showing your son?
No, and I'm not publicizing that on the internet.
That you have a son?
No, that. Is this the first time I've even mentioned the gender of my child? I guess so.
No, but you've talked about him before. Come on.
They're now 2. They're going to be 2. They are 2 now, and that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Insane thing I've ever done in my life. Ben, let's pare things back a little bit. Talk a little bit less about parenthood and writing new books, and more about the thing that people come to this podcast for, which is
long-winded recipes.
Cars, I think. We've got some cars on tap this week, which is
I've got a car that it's a vehicle that Sami hates, and it's a vehicle.
Oh yeah, I forgot that we went on a short. I went on a short rant about why nobody should be talking about this car.
There's two vehicles that Sami hates, and they both occupy like a similar space. They're both like affordable crossovers, and they're good.
Why you gotta throw me under the bus? I like affordable cars, man. You know.
No, you like affordable crossovers, but these two in particular, like they do one or two things wrong that all the other ones do right, and as a result, you hate them. And
one or two things wrong. It's more like they do one thing okay and everything else really poorly. The two cars that I cannot stand in this industry right now are the Honda HR-V, which you had a recent episode about.
Yes.
And the car that you're driving this week, which is the
2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Now, there are
notice the end of sentence after that word, Outlander, because I actually find the Outlander plug-in to be an okay compromise, like a decent plug-in hybrid compact crossover. It gets the job done. The non-PHEV version feels like everything has gone the wrong way.
Now, we haven't talked about the Outlander in quite a long time.
Yeah,
it's been
2 years.
No, I think 3 years almost.
Okay,
maybe 2. And we certainly haven't talked about the non-plug-in in maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
So the reason I
has anything changed?
Yes, it's been updated for 2025, but there's a big problem with the update that is going to be kind of the focus of what I want to talk about with this vehicle. So the Outlander, on the surface of things, there's a lot of good stuff about it. I don't feel the same way Sami does about this Mitsubishi, and I'm going to tell you why. Mm-hmm. For 2025, they've kind of changed the styling on the outside a little bit. It has different wheels. It's got a different grille, front end, different taillights. In the inside, they seriously upped the luxury quotient. If you end up, so in Canada, it's called the, I want to say the GT Premium is the top tier trim. In the States,
you want to say it's GT Premium?
Well, in the States, it's called SEL 2.5. They also make a Platinum edition, which is the same, but it has different like visual features. The equipment is the same. And there's a Trail edition, but Canada doesn't get those. It's so why I'm bringing this up is because the version that I drove, it's the equivalent of the SEL 2.5, but the version that has the SEL Premium package, which installs this really nice, it's called brick brown leather. And the vehicle went from having a fairly milquetoast leather installation to diamond stitching on the doors, on the seats. It's a nice contrasting color. The vehicle I had on the outside was a color called Moonstone Gray Metallic, which is also new for this year, and it has a black roof. So all of these things together, it makes for a very attractive package. Like inside of the vehicle is quite nice. They also redid the infotainment. The screen is larger. They got rid of, it went from 2 knobs to 1 knob. So there's really only a volume knob now, which I wasn't super enthused by, but it was easy enough to use. Okay. It had a head-up display, which worked well. I really like that feature.
A real head-up display, not a flap on a...
Exactly. A real head-up display. The center console's been made a little bit bigger so you could stuff more things in it, and that worked well for my purposes while I was driving it. Mm-hmm. Wireless charging for my phone, wireless Android Auto, and CarPlay. It all worked very well. No bugaboos with connecting it.
Okay.
No weird disconnects. So what I'm saying is, as a package for this year, for 2025, they did improve it. They did, and it's not expensive either. The most expensive version is the one I drove, and it starts at like 48,000 in Canada.
Yeah,
and it's about 46,000 in the US.
But these are for non-plug-in models.
Yeah, but the cheapest version is 35, and it's like 33 in the States. So there's a big range here, and most of it is comfort gear because they all have the same drivetrain. In Canada, they all have all-wheel drive. In the US, you can get a 2-wheel drive version. Front-wheel drive.
What's it called? All-wheel control?
Super all-wheel control. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there still a button that you can press about it?
No, there's nothing. It's like I'll get to that, but
okay.
There are a couple of things though that actually there's 3 things I want to focus on that are wrong with this vehicle.
Before we get to those, I want to talk about this Outlander because
I think it looks good, Sami. I think it's a pretty attractive vehicle.
You're out of your mind. Okay. Maybe. Second, basically, the Outlander borrows the same platform and used to share the powertrain with a Nissan Rogue.
It no longer shares the powertrain, but this is
Yes,
something I
that's
need
right.
to talk about later.
Very important to talk about when we do get to it. Now it is only offered in.
I want to talk about it later. Okay, let's keep going.
So let's talk about we'll talk about this 2.5 though is available. The 2.5 and a plug-in hybrid. I really recommend the plug-in hybrid. It's the one standout part of the Outlander PHEV. The Outlander has been available with a PHEV for a very, very long time.
Some might say too long.
I actually really like. I think that there's a bit of refinement to that PHEV system. Not to say that like other plugins in the segment don't have any refinement, but there's something about it that actually works really well. All of the controls for that work really nicely. And to me, the 2.5 had like no character, no reason to, like, it was very difficult to get the car going. It felt like a big crossover compared to the actual class that it sits in. And I felt that was really diminished, that feeling of like being in a big, heavy crossover.
It's almost like you're reviewing the vehicle instead of me.
Was diminished when you get into the PHEV. I'm just trying to explain why I have an issue with the non-plug-in hybrid. Okay. Second of all, that interior, yes, okay, let's be clear. They've luxuryified it a little bit, but how much does one trust the luxury appointments of a Mitsubishi?
What do you mean trust? What are you asking them to do?
Like, you know, long-term longevity, durability. Will it? Will the colors, you know, transfer?
What are you doing inside your crossover that is making you ask these questions?
I sweat a lot.
Are you just like hauling big buckets of lye around? Like, I hope I don't spill all this vinegar on this semi-aniline leather.
You never know. Like, man, I've seen now pictures because I've got an Outback.
Humble brag.
It's got leather seats, and the leather, and this is a notorious issue with the latest generation of Outbacks, is that the leather keeps cracking and breaking.
So you're saying that like because Subaru has bad leather, I should worry about Mitsubishi. Yeah, I got it. I'm following you now.
I'm just following. I'm just trying to explain that.
I've heard that Rolls Royces can be expensive to repair. Should I worry about the Outlander?
Yeah, perhaps. But I'm just trying to say that some automakers, I think you can trust with their luxury appointments and their materials. And I don't know if Mitsubishi has earned that reputation just yet.
Sami, I think you're worrying about the wrong things with this vehicle. Because there's three other areas that are far more problematic for anyone considering this vehicle.
Hit me with problem area number one.
They've retuned the suspension for this year. And as a result, it is incredibly soft, to the point where I had other people in the vehicle who are not enthusiasts be like, why is this thing so soft and wallowy all the time? That's not a good sign. That is
when normal people use the phrase wallowy.
When you're braking and the vehicle dives, when you're in a corner and it heaves, when you're over rough roads, the rear end wiggles around and then eventually settles after the bumps are gone. And it's really unsettling. And it's like they wanted it to be smooth, but they went way too far in the other direction. And it's off-putting. It's not comfortable. Like it's I'm not saying it's like a rough ride and you're going to be like, oh man, this is terrible. But compared to almost every other vehicle in its class, it feels very disconnected and boat-like.
Which is, boat-like. I think that's a great way to put it. It takes a long time to get settled, is what you're saying.
And that's not great for something this small. Something this small that weighs 3,700 pounds still should not feel boat-like. The second problem is, it is a 3-row compact crossover.
Oh, by like technically a 3-row, but
this segment should not exist. There are no other compact crossovers at its price point that offer this. I believe there's a luxury version. There's a luxury vehicle. Isn't the EQB technically 3 rows?
Yes.
But like in the non-luxury world, there aren't any of this size, and there's a reason for that. You cannot use this 3rd row.
Right.
It just to give you an idea of how little legroom there is. When you there's 2 really silly things. The first is when you pull up the row and you have someone in the 2nd row and they're seated normally, there is no room for legs. None at all whatsoever.
The seat back, the back
it's
of that
touching
seat back
the front of the other seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Then if you take the 2nd row seat, slide it to the front so that it's touching the 1st row seat, there is like 18 inches of leg room. That's not acceptable because now you have to choose. Am I going to use the 2nd row? Or am I going to use the 3rd row? And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, Ben, kids can go in the back and they don't really need legroom. The problem with that is there's only a certain age group that can really sit back there, because if you're if you need a car seat, you can't get a car seat in there. It's just, maybe it's physically possible, but as an adult trying to connect it and fit it inside, you won't be able to do it.
Oh, in the third row? Yeah,
that
would be the worst idea ever.
And so if you're an older kid, like let's say you're 10 or 11, you're going to need leg room.
You have growing and gangly legs.
This means that the only kids who can fit back there are like between 5 and 8 or something like that. And even then, it's really going to depend. So
they really need to have some distance between them and their parents.
Well, the third row, it's just like, who is it for? If it's for kids in that age range, you're only going to be able to use it for a small period of time. And that also means that, like, I think a lot of people, when they have third rows, they get tagged in on and off. Like, you stop over you're dropping your kid off somewhere, and someone says,
or something.
Not just grandparents, but someone says, hey, can you take my kid home for me? Like, it's on the way. And you're like, sure, I'll use the third row for that. It's, it's there for that instance, but you won't be able to do that. Like, outside of that age range, it really limits you. The other problem with the third row is it seriously eats into cargo space. So if you have it up, there is 10 cubic feet available, which is tiny. It's mostly vertical space, and it's compounded by the fact that the third row has these like giant headrests that sit in a compartment that is inside the cargo compartment in the floor. You have to like flip up the floor, pull out the seats headrests, put them on, and after the seat has been flipped up, and then if you want to fold the seat flat, you have to do the reverse. So all of your cargo space
nothing like having to open the trunk, lift a underfloor panel in order to and get some headrest in order to prepare the third row seats.
It's just silly. And when the seats are folded forward, you can't use that compartment for storage because the headrests are in it. And you're still not competitive with the rest of the class. You're still like 6 or 7 cubic feet behind everyone else. The only area where the Outlander is relatively competitive is if the second and third rows are folded. Even then, it's not class leading. It's just like, it's in the conversation. So in order to have this third row, they've sacrificed practicality to a large degree. That is disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest problem, I mean, I think the third row is silly. I feel like it's something that's only there because Mitsubishi wanted to be able to advertise it. But
the outgoing Outlander was also a 3-row, but it didn't feel this compromised. I don't believe.
I don't remember.
It felt like a much bigger vehicle.
In any case, the biggest issue with the 2025, and I'm going to underline that model here, the 2025 version of the Outlander is the engine that Sami hates, that he talked about, the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder motor. It has a CVT. It's 181.
I don't hate it. Yeah.
You got to let me finish.
Okay.
It's got 181 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque for 3,700 pounds. That is not enough. And the CVT is not well tuned. It's not as bad as the HRV that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, but it's very buzzy. You floor the accelerator, the revs go up, nothing happens. You lean slowly into the accelerator, the revs go up, nothing happens. It's hard to know if you're going to accelerate or not. And even with the gas pedal floored, it's like a 9-second 0 to 60. I live in an area where there's a lot of tourists, and I did not pass anyone the entire time I had this vehicle because I did not feel safe getting around people on 2-lane roads. But the reason this is a problem for 2025 is because next year it's getting a brand new motor.
Woohoo!
It's getting a 1.5 liter turbo.
Okay. So
I can virtually guarantee that will be better than what it has now. So
is that going to be the 3-cylinder turbo, that variable display or whatever variable compression engine that's in the Rogue right now?
No idea. But why I'm bringing this up is because this is a 2025 model year that's been refreshed everywhere except for the engine. And then next year it gets a new engine. So basically Mitsubishi is telling everyone, hey, wait a year.
Yeah,
don't buy this vehicle. Like, I don't understand how they timed this. It's so crazy. They're going to create this orphan model year where it's like a refresh that is not really a refresh. It's like a half refresh. And then the next year you get the full refresh. And it's like, remember when the Supra was out and it had like a certain amount of horsepower in the first year?
Yeah.
And then like way more horsepower in the next year and everyone got mad?
Yeah.
I think it's like that.
I think that's fair. I think that's a really good point.
Like, all of that to say is I can't recommend anybody buy the 2025 model. Even if you absolutely need a 3-row compact SUV and you need a vehicle now, maybe. But that's the only circumstance. I think in every other customer should just wait for the 2026.
Yeah.
Sami, what are the specs on that? So you mentioned that this, you think it's going to be the same motor that is in the Nissan.
Yeah, let me double check that Nissan for you, which is, I think it's a 1.5.
Because it's interesting that it didn't get the Rogue motor right away.
It didn't.
It feels odd. Like, I don't understand that.
Well, I think, again, I might have more to do. Like, let's be clear, that engine is like strange, if I remember correctly. It's a bit of an anomaly.
No, I want to bring it up. It is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and it's built by Mitsubishi, designed and built, and it will have the first mild hybrid system. That's essentially meaningless. It's probably like, whatever.
Engine start stop.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that means it's totally different than whatever Nissan is offering, which is a variable compression turbo with 3 cylinders with 1.5 liters. So that is very interesting. And I can't wait to see if it really is a Mitsubishi engine.
They say it's designed and built.
And okay, I mean, I guess so. There's a lot of other things that you caught my attention with that you didn't get to drive. Is that okay if I ask you? I'm gonna try to look this up a little bit.
I didn't get to drive. What do you mean?
There's a trim level that you mentioned called Trail.
Yeah, that's only available in the US.
I need to look at this.
Next year, though, I don't know if Trail will continue because they're introducing a rally art version of the Outlander.
It's even cooler. Okay, now we're getting there. Now we're getting somewhere.
Again, Sami, though, like, why is this all happening across 2 years? Like, it's
Trail
so
Edition.
strange.
I'm looking at it. What is happening here? They're not explaining anything.
Good job. Very exciting.
18-inch wheels with all-terrain style tires.
Okay, all-terrain style tires?
Yeah, whatever.
Does that mean they don't have like additional
There's
grip?
a bunch of black graphics everywhere.
Do they just look like they're aggressive treads?
But they keep showing this roof rack on it.
You love roof racks.
Okay, but hold on. There's this other thing that Mitsubishi has been bragging about called Yamaha Premium Concert Sound. Did you have this?
Yeah, I think it's in all of them.
Is this a thing?
I can't really tell these days. It's hard for me to judge how stereo sounds. 12
speakers. I remember it having. There's supposed to be a lot of power to these sound systems, but maybe I'm mistaken here. Anyways, that's. Look, the question about the Outlander is, first of all, are there too many compact crossovers to pick from? And if I believe there are, and as a result, where does the Outlander fit in? Is it better than the typical choices in this segment, which are the RAV4, CR-V, Forester, Escape, and CX-5?
I don't think it's better than anything else out there.
Yeah. But it's not particularly like... That's why I'm like tough on it, is because it has to stand out in one of the most crowded segments. And that's not even mentioning things like Jeep Compass, which
I'm not saying it's bad. Okay, maybe it's better than the Compass, or maybe it's on par with the Compass. I just don't think that there's any standout feature of the Outlander that you can point to and be like, this has something that no one else has, except for the third row, which we've already established is a demerit.
And I mean, I didn't even mention the Korean cars, the Tucson and the Sportage, which are both very good.
Yeah, the Sportage is great.
Both offered with plug-in hybrids, just like the Mitsubishi Outlander. And that really diminishes the Outlander's only saving grace. So it blows my mind that you're and there's still the Rogue, which is technically so close.
And the Rogue is another vehicle. Is if you look at the Rogue, they didn't put three rows of seating in it, and it has way more cargo space.
Yeah, of course.
It's not like Mitsubishi engineers can be like, "Oh, we didn't know." No. You totally could have known, guys and girls. Oops!
Is that what people want?
Oops! All passenger rows.
All seats. It's so strange. It is so strange to me, like, that you just have to fill in a gap somewhere in the lineup. You're playing in one of the most dominant fields, so that means that you've got to sell some, right? People are eventually going to get kicked out of enough showrooms to land in yours. Right?
I honestly think what's happening is that people are being drawn in by the third row. And I think it's
You're insane.
I
Really?
think it's strong marketing from Mitsubishi to be like, hey, guess what? You know, do you need a third row, but you don't want like a super big vehicle? Well, we have just the thing for you. And I think that we sometimes underestimate the power of sales and features and how that could work for some customers who maybe are not familiar with the fact that if you don't get the third row, you get way more practicality. Like maybe they just hear third row and they think, yeah, one day I'll use that. Why would I pay more somewhere else for less rows? You know what I mean?
That's crazy. That's absolutely
That's marketing. That's marketing.
It's out of this world. When you think, based on your experience with the car, they should actually be showcasing that luxury leather, that luxurious leather interior, the technology that they have, including that head-up display and this fancy new sound system, and the affordable pricing.
I mean, I don't know what they should be. I think that underscoring the third row is probably smart for them because it is the one thing they have that no one else has. Like,
but somebody will eventually look at it and be like, "Oh God, I've been bamboozled."
Maybe, but by then they've
or
already
what they lock the dealership doors and it's like,
it's too late. You never been to a Mitsubishi dealership?
I definitely have.
It's a very hardcore form of negotiating.
I definitely have. Or are they just selling people who used to have Lancers and were like, or Gallants, and they're like, time to cash in on our cred,
I think that I don't
street cred.
I really hope they're not selling to people who had Gallants because like that's really a long time ago. I don't know.
I still see some Gallants out there. They're running along. I don't see them.
Remember Diamantes? Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like absolutely. Those are these great Mitsubishis that just, you know, well, I think the Diamante kind of ended its days as a rental fleet special, but they're just non-existent these days. I do not see Gallants like you do. I do not see Diamantes. So I don't even see DSMs anymore. Like they used to be everywhere. I just don't think Mitsubishi can rely on like former Gallant owners. I feel like that's a small pool these days. They got to push past that.
My God, I drove past a house nearby that had, I think, 4 Lancers outside.
Yeah, they have every Lancer. No one else has a Lancer because of this person.
Are those parts cars? What's happening?
I don't know.
But you know, I mean, it reminds me that Nissan had, not Nissan, Mitsubishi had a really cool lineup back in the day.
Yeah.
Had a loyal following.
And now they're in super financial trouble.
Yeah.
You know, they're part of an unstable alliance with Nissan, and you don't know where it's going to go. Well, no, it's.
I love the way you term that. That's great.
They're just companies that have a shaky fiscal future, and it's who knows what's going to happen, and they're making the best out of it, and they're sharing all these platforms, and the Outlander's kind of been there for a long time now. I think it's the most stable thing in the Mitsubishi lineup.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the RVR or whatever it's called, the Outlander Sport in the US.
Yeah.
And then you've got those. They're still on their website. They still advertise 2024 Mirages. So I don't know if those are still on the market or not.
I thought the Mirage was gone. Didn't it leave Canada?
Yeah, but I'm just saying on the US website, there's 2024 versions of the Mirage.
Mirage is a vehicle I haven't thought about in a long time. You know, I've never driven it.
No way.
Never driven it because
no wonder.
I didn't think I would have anything nice to say about it. And so I didn't want to just be one of the people who was, I'm not faulting anyone for ganging up on it, but I didn't want to do that at the time because it was clear that it was not competitive. And I was like, okay, we get it.
What will another voice of disappointment do?
Yeah. I mean, I drove the Micra.
The industry.
The Micra was so good, you know, and I also liked the Spark. I think the Spark was, for its price point, a very good vehicle. And
I mean, we shouldn't actually. You need to talk about these cheap cars back in the day. It wasn't just those. There were also really cheap versions of the Hyundai Accent and Kia Rio.
Yeah. I think, though, that they weren't quite as good dynamically as the thing about the Micra was it was fun to drive.
But the Americans didn't get Micras.
No, so it's really too bad.
They got Versas.
The Accent was fine, but it was not fun.
No.
You know?
Rio was in Canada was offered with a ton of like weird like it was offered with like base models had heated steering wheels and heated seats, which was really cool for the time.
Yeah, so I will say this about the Micras though: every single model that I see now has a horribly rusting, tacked-on rear view camera.
Yeah.
That, for whatever reason, that did not get installed properly. I don't know if that was installed by dealers at the port and they just drilled a hole and stuck it on for like some type of regulatory reason, but they have not aged well. If you have a light colored Micra, you have a racing stripe of rust down your hatch.
Yeah. But it's, like I said, it's a super competitive field. Mitsubishi already has at least 2 other vehicles in their lineup that are interesting and different. I don't know if they're super good, but they're different. In the Eclipse Cross and the Outlander Sport, it's so strange to me that the Outlander itself really struggles to find its like to carve its niche. But I guess you're saying with the third row,
yeah, that's its niche. That's 100% of its niche.
But it's not it doesn't execute it well.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like seeing a dog on a bicycle. You're like, you don't expect it to be done well. You're just you're surprised to see it being done at all. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
You're like, oh, 3 row. Wow.
Fine.
What's that?
Okay, fine. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Wow, a third row. It used to be the... Like
take all my money.
Yeah, geez, take my 48 grand. Okay, anything else you want to talk about? Did it remind you of anything else? Did you want to be in other vehicles when you were driving this car?
It felt old from behind the wheel
because
of the suspension and the drivetrain. Even though the cabin doesn't feel old and the styling don't feel old. It's like...
It feels old-fashioned.
Yeah, it feels like I'm driving a vehicle. Like the early...
Not dated, like...
The old plug-in Outlander felt like that too. They kept that on the market a really long time, and it was no longer competitive, but it was like the only plug-in in its class, and it was selling, so they just kept it there. And I feel like that same philosophy kind of is guiding the drivetrain in the current Outlander, the gas-only model, which is really good in terms of styling and design and features, except for that third row. But the drivetrain just totally lets it down. And for whatever reason, the suspension tuning has been, they just turned the dial to full soft. So like you get into it and you're
like they said, they're probably designing it with the PHEV in mind, which
no, I don't think so, because the refreshes were done separately. There's no need to do that, right? Like it's not necessary.
I want to go on 2 tangents. Can I do that?
We'll see. Try your first one.
The first one is about the last generation Outlander, which was an ugly vehicle that felt really dated inside. But there was a GT model with the same paddle shifters that you could get from the Lancer Evo. And they had that like metallic, they were like metal. They were like titanium or metal, and they felt so good. Do you remember?
And that's all it takes for you? Just some paddle shifters?
Yeah, if they had that in an Outlander, like a gas Outlander, I'd be all about it.
Wow.
Now, the other thing was, in discussion about this powertrain that is going to get updated next year.
Yes.
It reminds me of the philosophy Nissan had when they introduced the Frontier with the new transmission, but not the new engine.
Yeah, so strange. So strange. The only way that makes sense is like they lost the line space at some production facility. And they couldn't build the old transmission anymore. I don't know.
That's what it is. Anyways,
or maybe Mitsubishi has a big warehouse filled with these 2.5 liter engines, you know?
Oh yeah. Possibly.
I mean, Subaru has an engine in this size and in this power range and with a CVT, and it feels so much better.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild, right? How different automakers approach what is an acceptable experience, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good way of putting it.
And some care about the total product and some don't. I think that's the biggest difficulty. So anything else you want to talk about?
No, let's move on to what you wanted to talk about.
I drove something that was a plug-in hybrid 3-row vehicle. It was the Volvo XC90.
That's like 2 Outlanders back to back, right? Like size?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's huge. It's big. It's, I guess, the biggest vehicle that Volvo makes. It's important to talk about this because I drove a short while ago, or maybe within the year, I guess, the EX90, which is the fully electric 3-row from Volvo, and found it impossible to recommend due to its absolutely infuriating user experience. Yes. Basically, there were no buttons to be found in the vehicle. So many controls had to be performed through the infotainment screen.
Did you have buttons on the key fob?
No buttons on the key fob.
No buttons anywhere.
And that was super annoying to drive. But now I'm in the gas electric plug-in hybrid version of basically the same vehicle.
Is it the
and
same
I'm happy
platform though, Sammy?
I don't think so,
I
because
think that the gas one is older.
yeah, slightly older. Now I'm going to tell you, this has been refreshed. They even told me it is a 25.5 model year.
Hey now.
And that means it comes with a bunch of little changes here and there. Important to note, this thing has buttons on the key fob. It has buttons on the dash. I can change the mirrors and the steering wheel without resorting to the infotainment system. It is fantastic to have that experience. Second of all, beautiful 455 horsepower powertrain that comes from a turbocharged inline 4, as well as an electric motor on the rear axle. And when you utilize the power drive mode, which I did for one of my commutes, it offers a 4.8 second sprint to 60 miles per hour, which
is way too fast.
Is brilliant. Yeah, it's wild. Otherwise, when you drive this like a normal person and you plug in every day or every night or whatever you want to do, to 100%, you're going to get... I got 50 to 55 kilometers of range, which is just about 25 miles, if not a little less. But it was really...
That's about 30, I think.
It's about 30. Okay, fine. 32 miles of range. And overall, I averaged during my week of about 400 kilometers, 4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is what? 4 liters per 100 KOs is...
I want to say 60 miles per gallon.
Almost 59.
Wow.
59 miles per gallon.
I didn't mention that about the Outlander. I got 8 liters per 100 kilometers, 30 miles per gallon. That is pretty impressive.
That is actually pretty decent. Yeah. Maybe that's why they've been keeping that 2.5 around.
I mean, maybe.
So these elements of the Volvo XC90 are coming together really strong. Beautiful. Everyone that I showed it to said the interior is really clean, well designed. I had no issues with that. Tons of great vibes all around. Now we got to talk about this infotainment system. It is not using the infotainment system found in the EX90, as I mentioned before, but it's still using an Android Automotive based interface, which means there's no Android Auto support. There is Apple CarPlay, but no like phone-based Android Auto connection. So you have to sign into the vehicle in order to use it. Unfortunately, another automotive journalist had signed into this vehicle before I picked it up, and the fleet company did not reset it because apparently I think you have to log into the account in order to reset the entire car.
So if you borrow the car, you can't log out of someone else's account?
Yeah! Without a password or something like that. They like disabled it, so it just kept asking me for this guy's password.
That's annoying.
Very annoying. And second thing that two more things occurred to me while I was using this car. One time, I drove it and the gauge cluster and steering wheel buttons were not responding, which was concerning.
Yeah,
as in like basically the volume controls, and it wouldn't turn on the adaptive cruise control. And the gauge cluster, which typically has like either an info screen in the middle or a map, just didn't show anything. And then when I power cycled it, it came back. And then when I power cycled it again on the same trip, it turns out that the infotainment system was updating, and the infotainment was just blank for the rest of the like center screen was now just blank, saying updating.
This really sounds like a lot of the same problems that people have had with the EX90.
I didn't have that kind of issues with the EX90.
I know that friend of the show, Mike Schley, had that problem.
Where it just was...
He lost his gauge cluster on a road trip. Just went black.
Yeah. So, let's be clear here. Volvo still needs to sort out its issues with its software. It hurts my heart because the old Volvo infotainment system, which I think was called Sensus.
Yeah, it was not great.
But it was better than this.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the worst part. Like,
I know.
We're like, Sensus was one of those systems that had menus that came from the top, bottom, and sides of the screens, and you could
only do one thing at a time.
And it had tiny fonts.
Yep.
And it was really hard to use while you were moving, and it was still pretty hard to use when you were stopped. Like, it was not very user friendly. It almost feels like no human beings use this software before it's put, like they test the code and then they just put it in the vehicles and they're like, here you go, here's your OS, and it's not working.
That's what I felt about the EX90. That's what I felt about the EX90, is that they're just like, we can update it. We can update it on the fly. We've already added new features, new software, all this jazz.
The owners should not be guinea pigs.
They should not be guinea pigs. They should not be forced to have to learn something while, getting ready for their daily commute. I mean,
Sami, what's the last time you learned something?
Today, when you told me that a new Mitsubishi built engine is going to be in the Mitsubishi Outlander.
See, and that was hard. I had to.
That was extremely hard. I needed somebody else on the phone with me. Otherwise, it's so sad to say this because I think these things drive really well. My vehicle had an air suspension system, which was okay. I wouldn't call it stiff or anything.
You're a big air fan, though.
I am a big air fan. I do like good air springs, but this is fine. And the powertrain just blew me away. I think that was the most impressive part. And the ability to just plug in every night and get an extra, like I said, 50 kilometers or 30 miles is more than enough for my uses in the city. And then on the weekend, you can go and see your folks or your friends, or you go for all your excursions using the gas engine.
So it's the same story with Volvo. It's the good bones of a vehicle ruined by the user experience.
Yeah, and that's really sad because my car cost, again, over $100,000 in Canada due to the packaging. In the US, it's a tiny bit cheaper. It's closer to $84,000 or $90,000.
That's similar to the EX90 pricing, isn't it?
EX90 was closer to $100,000. Yes, mine. That's true. Yes, it was very close. It was very close.
So you can choose whether you want the plug-in or whether you want to go full EV
with your awful user interface. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
How do you reconcile this? Right? How do you say you've got a good car riding with bad infotainment?
To be honest, the only way is to not buy them, because if car companies feel that they can offload bad software onto customers without complaint, they will continue to do that, because the lesson won't be learned. They won't have any feedback from their owners that, hey, I've been a Volvo customer for X number of years, but I got in this new Volvo and I can't make it work like a car. That's a problem. Yeah. And it's stunning to me. It's stunning to me that Volvo doesn't recognize this, that they continue to push this software out without taking this feedback, internalizing it, and maybe taking a step back and saying, we're making a mistake. And that's the or
they have just invested so much into this Android automotive thing.
But how much could they have invested? Because it's definitely in partnership with Google, right? So
yeah,
they're not doing the heavy lifting when it comes to the software. And we've seen other implementations of this system that work.
Android Automotive OS works. First of all, I didn't even realize, but I think Honda uses an Android Automotive OS.
I think most of GM's vehicles are.
Most of GM's are Android Automotive OS as well. And I think even Ford is getting there too.
And those are all functional vehicles, regardless of how you feel about the style or of the interface or how you use it. Like, they don't just blank out all the time. And there are also hard buttons and stuff. And again, maybe this is speaking to the design culture at Volvo, where the designers and stylists have taken over to the point where human factors are no longer in the conversation. And that is disappointing. And it's like, I would love to be able to recommend Volvo as an alternative to German luxury brands, but it's really, really, really hard to do that when I know that people are going to be experiencing this nightmare of infotainment. And now that nightmare has spread to every vehicle function.
I forgot to mention, actually, when that issue I had with the cluster broke, I still had the speedo and the tack, but my head-up display was suddenly gone as well. And the car was acting as if I didn't even have one. Like, when I would go to the settings on the center screen to be like, okay, can I adjust the head-up display at all? And no, it was like, there is no head-up display for you to adjust. And then it's just so freaky, man. Like, that's $100,000 car in Canada. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said with the EX90. When you spend 6 digits on a car, you expect near perfect level of execution.
And even we're not even close to near perfect. Like, we're just asking for a functional system from Volvo, and we don't have that.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. These are two.
When I spend $50,000 on a vehicle, I expect a functional system. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't care if it's slow, if it's fast or slow. It needs to work.
It needs to work. It needs to not disappear mid-drive.
Yeah. So
that's a low bar. That's a really low bar.
That's one of my biggest issues with it. Overall, it really is a waste of beautiful design, a great powertrain, comfortable ride. It is a waste to have an infuriating experience here. But every time these things happened, I kept saying, "Thank God I'm not in the EX90, where I had absolutely no other control. Like I wouldn't be able to like lock the doors or open the trunk."
Well, don't worry, no one can steal it because it's somehow not functional. Like it's.
So I was thinking to myself, like, well, thank God I can still, change the height of the steering wheel or my car seat or anything like that. So it's just so interesting to have similar experiences. It just made me appreciate hard buttons some more, Anyways, that's why, again, it's nothing new about what's going on over there at Volvo, but it's just an important thing to mention. It is a great alternative, but you really have to suck up this experience with the user interface.
Anything else you want to talk about with the XC?
No, nothing in particular. Do you think when it comes to a plug-in hybrid, though, more and more automakers are offering a quick charge port?
I haven't noticed that.
You haven't noticed that?
No.
So I believe Range Rover offers it, and I think I think I heard that the new Toyota might have it.
I think if you see a PHEV at a DC fast charger,
you would
have
lose
the right to be angry.
You would get so angry.
I mean,
this is a 14.7 kilowatt hour battery.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's at a 50, even at a 50 kilowatt charger. Like, get out of here, you.
Yeah, please go. There's an extension cord out back. You can use that. I have an update about my Pathfinder, if you're curious.
Oh yeah, sure, of course.
So I had a not so great. I don't have a garage that I can rely on out where I live. I just don't know the area. It's been almost 2 years we've been here, but I either do wrenching myself or I work with the race shop that takes care of my Datsun for most of my vehicles, and my mechanic at the race shop has been rehabbing from a surgery for most of the summer. So things have been kind of on the back burner. I ended up going to a sort of shade tree mechanic who did not do the best possible job on the very simple things I asked him to take care of on the Pathfinder that I did not have time to do. But I want to announce that it has new oil, it has new coolant, but more importantly, I had a real clunk in the drivetrain. The vehicle drove well when I picked it up. The guy took good care of it. And now that it's been up on a lift independently, that's been verified. There's no surprises. But he had replaced the drive shaft with a kind of like a jobber style drive shaft because the old one was unbalanced. I have the old one, which I was ready to balance and reinstall if necessary. Because sometimes, it can be either it's not the drive shaft isn't installed properly. Maybe there is a bushing that is causing the clunk with gear shifts and whatnot, or when I lifted off the gas, I would get a clunk. It turns out it was because of the rear trailing arms, the control arms in the back. The R50 Pathfinders have a design that destroys the bushings. It just eats them up. And it doesn't matter which ones you use. If you have rubber bushings in your control arms, they're on borrowed time. And the only way to really fix this issue forever is to go for poly bushings. I didn't really want to go for poly bushings on a vehicle that is going to see very little mileage during the year because it has now graduated to being my leave behind. So I'll be lucky to put between 500 and 1,000 kilometers on it every year, which is it's kind of sad. But that did let me know that if I replace those control arms, they'll be good for like ever. Like I'm not worried. And replacing the control arms fixed the clunk. What I was hearing was the control arms and the rear suspension moving under load. And I had noticed a little bit of a wiggle under power when I was driving, but it didn't feel that bad because, again, this is a 22-year-old SUV. It's a mix of unibody and full frame, and it has a solid rear axle. So the rear end isn't going to feel super planted, right? But it turns out that that's what it was. It was the wiggle I was feeling and the clunk were all related to the control arms. Those have been replaced. There's nothing else wrong with the vehicle. I mean, everything functions as it should. And I've been enjoying driving it around. It's sad that it's in the city now, and I get to see it once a week and drive it once a week, which is, great. I'll be able to do that all year round, which I don't get to do with my other cars. But it's sad that it's not here anymore. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play Nissan Pathfinder cosplay, as I've mentioned in past episodes.
I'm glad. You're happy with it?
Yeah. I mean, it feels expensive as a vehicle that is only going to be driven once a week, but it's also not going to let me down. And I drove the Subaru back home, my Impreza, I still have it. And I was sad because on the road home, the Impreza drives nice. It's more comfortable than the Pathfinder, right? It's a car. It's a car versus a truck. And the fact is, the reason the Impreza is being taken off the road is because of deferred maintenance that has just added up over the last 4 years. Yeah. I paid $1,500 for it in 2021. I've put no money into it since then. I've done all my old oil changes and brake fluid changes and whatnot, but it needs new brakes and rotors up front. They're just too corroded from sitting. It needs a new windshield. There's rust on the car that I'm assuming is going to reach a critical level at some point. And when that happens, I'm going to either be stranded or I'm going to be looking at a very expensive repair on a car that's not worth it. And that's this made me make the decision to invest that money instead in the Pathfinder, which is extremely clean. And I don't have any of those surprises waiting for me.
Yeah, you sent me a bunch of pictures of your Pathfinder. I'm like, what? This is such a gorgeous, it's so clean.
It's pretty much a time capsule,
clean. And I'm like, you've got to show me closer photos, because from the distance you showed me, it was this is insane.
It's a good driver. It's got a few dents and divots from being in parking lots. It's the kind of vehicle that you can park anywhere and walk away from it and not worry about it. It's not showroom condition, but it's not a beater. And my Impreza is definitely a beater, and I'm concerned about whether it's going to make it through another winter.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that I've spent 4 times the amount on the Pathfinder that I have on the Subaru. Oh, the other thing the Subaru needs is an exhaust system, because it's broken twice in the last 12 months. And I've seen it underneath, and I don't really know if there's anything left to weld to fix it this time. So I could fix the windshield and the exhaust system and try to sell it. I could sell it as is for $1,000, but that seems like I'm inviting the worst possible people to come over and bargain me down. Yeah. And what's my defense? I'm going to be yeah, you're right. I mean, it is a beater. Or I could take it to a scrapyard and part it out, have people part it out and use it in their cars. Because there's some stuff that's still good on it. I mean, it's got some good body panels in addition to the stuff that's rusty, like the hood, the doors, the trunk. Those are all good. It's really just rockers and wheel wells and typical Subaru stuff, right? The interior is pretty clean. It's got good seats. It's got the WRX style seats with the extra bolstering, the Momo shifter and all that. Someone can make some use of it. I thought about turning it into a rallycross car, but I'm pretty sure it would self-destruct the first event. I would just hit whatever was bumpy and parts would fly off and they'd have to close the track down and I would make a whole bunch of enemies.
But you'd win because of that.
I don't know if you could call that winning.
You win by default. Did you talk about your Pathfinder's call to duty?
Oh, I forgot. No.
So this is my favorite thing.
And Sammy, I took a video of this and it didn't save properly, and I'm so sad about it. But I was driving it to get washed on Sunday, and I live in a rural area, and I'm coming up this long stretch of hill, and there's these cows in the road. Yeah. And a couple of cars have stopped ahead of me, and then traffic starts backing up on the other side. And I thought the cows were crossing, which isn't that unusual, I guess. But they had actually escaped. The fence was open, cows were in the road, and there was a guy who was trying to shoo them back into the fence. So my Pathfinder has a bull bar on the front, a factory bull bar. And I got to use the bull bar for bull purposes for the first time in my life. I drove out around the cars in front of me, and one of the cows was wandering away from the guy. And I got the car my car in front of him and blocked him with the bull bar. And the cow looked me in the eye and then looked at the bull bar and then turned around and went back into the field. And I drove behind him and I was herding this cow into the field with the bull bar. And then I parked across the gap so they couldn't get out. And I talked to the people there, and they were trying to find, the fence was just missing. It wasn't it was open. So they were trying to find like a length of rope or something, anything to dissuade the cows from leaving. And then I took off. So it was like, it was kind of fun. It was, again, this country cosplay that I have with this Pathfinder. It was an interesting afternoon.
That's brilliant. I mean, you have a bull bar, you used it. That's, how many other Pathfinders can say that?
I don't know. If you can say that, if you have used your car to herd an animal, I want to hear about it. Hit us up, Benjamin at benjaminhunting.com or unnamedautomotivepodcast.com, where you can find the contact form and tell us about your animal experience and click submit, and we will get it in our inbox. Or you can find me on Instagram at huntingbenjamin. Sami is also on Instagram at Sami_ha, like you're laughing.
Ben, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, I'm going to be talking about the BMW M2 with the 6-speed manual transmission.
Oh, wow. Okay, That's a great car. I mean, to talk about. I've got the 2026 Honda CR-V Trail Sport to talk about
Trail
next
Sport.
week.
Okay, well, thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.